Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Infantry Pulse, and today we're going to be starting the first in a series of videos about infantry class types. So we're going to take a look at the top 5 plus some honorable mentions, in my opinion, of the Red Mage Infantry class today. So again, this is just my opinion. I am fairly educated on infantry units from the channel, but this is going to be taking a look at units broadly, not just for their purposes on AR defense or AR offense. So you're going to see some arena builds, you'll see some AR offense builds, you'll see some AR defense builds, and we'll probably mention offhand some PvE type of thing. So without further ado, let's get into our pick for number 5.
Someday, I hope to be a strategist to rival my mother.
So number 5 is Morgan, Male Morgan. He recently got a new refine that's actually quite good. It's a lot like the Pelagian weapons. So what it does is it has, as its refined effect, a debuff doubler. So it gives, if the opponent has a penalty on them, it gives the opponent -4 to all stats. And then if they have a penalty on a stat, it doubles that penalty. So it's actually a quite good weapon. There's also an effect that he has that's kind of a threaten that allows him to steal some attack speed and res from the nearest enemy within 4 spaces. That is less important than the debuff doubler itself. So here I've given an example of an Aether Raid's offense build. This would be really great if it was supported by both a Fortune Bow and by a Tamari Dagger, or alternatively a Tamari Dagger that also has Sabotage Res. So I put it on Light Season because you can run an Air, which is one of the Mythic units, as your Tamari debuffer and put Sabotage Res in Air's B slot and really enable Morgan to work quite well with that. So this is a tank kind of build, but because it's a ranged tank, you can snipe a unit and go off with Pulse Smoke. Alternatively, in the C slot, you could run something like Res Smoke, and then put Attack Smoke in the Seal if you wanted to be more independent and you don't have that kind of Tamari support. But if the enemy team has lots of debuffs, he becomes very tanky, and he actually becomes very powerful as well. So yeah, Morgan's Refine, I definitely think, was the winner of the batch from this past session. I actually have built up a Morgan myself for Astra season, so I am definitely excited about Morgan's Refine.
Whether it's the battlefield or the stage, my reputation demands I give it my all.
Next up is number 4, and that is going to be Kyria. So Kyria's weapon actually has a pretty simple effect. It gives attack +3, and it gives attack res -6 to any enemies within 2 spaces. So that's not just for Kyria, that's for any enemies that are in combat near Kyria as well, which actually can be quite good. I've provided an Aether Raid's defense setup where I think that's her primary role, truly. You could use her for AR offense as well, but I think where she really shines is in AR defense. So this is a very thick Kyria. It's very hard to kill, right? She has effectively, what would that be, 44, 54, 57, 62 total defense, and 64 total res. My math is probably wrong there, someone can check me on it, I'm sure. But it's a lot, it's very thick, and then 59 HP as well, right? So this is a very hard to deal with Kyria. Not to mention she has your 70 attack to go with, 76, 79 effect, 84 effective attack. I'm doing a lot of math right now. 84 effective attack and very thick defenses make her a super hard unit to just deal with generally, right? The problem is that she has very low speed, so that's probably why her place is not so much in AR offense. You could run it with Quick Riposte, obviously, and be fine. But I think her place as a big ol' nuke that's also hard to snipe makes her a very good candidate for AR defense. You could also run AR defense attack res in her A slot. You could run mirror impact in her A slot. You could run sturdy impact in her A slot. Lots of different options as far as Kyria goes. But I think her role as an infantry pulse nuke that's also a tank is a quite good one to have right now in the meta.
The almighty dark god Loptus will be reborn!
Next up is Fallen Julia. So Fallen Julia has this solo effect on her tome that makes her incredibly powerful. coupled with Light and Dark, which is null everything, basically. It's kind of like lull everything in a way, because it also gives minus stats to the enemy. It's just a very, very good skill, and because it's a preference B skill, I've provided a arena build for you here. So this is an arena build that effectively scores like a 185 because our dual infantry boosts her up to the 180 BST bin, and then because she has a preference weapon and a preference B skill, that boosts her up essentially to scoring like a 185 unit, kind of. Very, very high scoring unit. Also, I put her on Fire Season because she would have a very strong match against Edelgard, pretty much one-shotting Edelgard every single time. And this is just like a super, super powerful nuke. And it's because it's a range unit. That's something that's hard to get in AR, or it's not AR, in Arena, right? So, as great as she is, I think it's hard for her to always consistently hit this solo condition on her weapon in Aether Raids. So, Aether Raid's defense makes it a little bit weird for her. You could run her in Aether Raid's offense, but her defense isn't really super suited for that. So I think her best place, and she is a really great user, arena unit because of how high she scores and also how powerful she is. So yeah, her best place is for sure in Arena, in my opinion. You could run her in AR defense because, again, she is a great nuke, but it's just hard for her to fulfill that solo condition. So because of that, definitely attack defense solo is a good pairing for her weapon. Joint drive attack is optional. You could run another, like, joint hone attack might be good as well. I also run Ruptured Sky. I think it's probably the best of the high-scoring specials in most cases for most units. Aether has its place also. Blue Flame has its place and sometimes. But I think Ruptured Sky is the best for Julia specifically because she does get that auto follow-up and whatnot.
I must grow stronger quickly, for the sake of my family.
So our number 2 best Red Tome unit is OG Lyscithia. So Lyscithia is really great in Aether Raid's defense because she has a Slaying Tome, and she already comes with Times Pulse. So even at low investment, she can be really, really great. She effectively gets plus 10 attack, I believe, and plus 4 speed from her Tome when her special is charged. It's really, really strong, and then you combine that with something like Sturdy Impact for survivability, or you could just run Attack Speed Push or Death Blow 4 that she comes with on her base kit, and then an Attack Res lull, or even the Speed Res lull she comes with. Again, this is like an ideal investment in my opinion. This is going to help her survive and go into multiple combats. But with Glimmer, or Moonbow, or Ruptured Sky, I think Glimmer is probably the best because of how high her attack can get. You can really, really have some really good nuking potential. And because it's Times Pulse and she has a Slaying Tome, this is actually not the build I would use for an Infantry Pulse team. For an Infantry Pulse team, I would probably use something like Special Spiral Dragonfang. This is for a mixed team. So she is pre-charged on turn 1, and even if someone hits her with Pulse Smoke, she's going to recharge that Glimmer because of Times Pulse. So with Times Pulse and her Slaying Tome, she always has that Glimmer ready at the beginning of the turn, meaning that her Tome is always going to be active, which is really, really good. She is just a very, very, very strong nuke, and she hits like an absolute tank, and I highly recommend Lyscithia for people looking for a red nuke on Aether Raid's defense. So next up, we're going to go into some honorable mentions. So first up, we have Azel, who is one of our newest red mages. And he kind of he's a really great unit, but he kind of has this weird, like, not finding a home kind of thing. His base kit wants him to be in Arena because he comes with our dual infantry skill. But his Tome is really more suited to like an Aether Raid's defense kind of thing. I've read an Aether Raid's defense build here. He's a really strong unit. He gets a lot of stats, a lot of attack and speed specifically. So I've actually built a null follow-up set for defense here. And he, as an Infantry Pulse unit, does really, really well. Unfortunately, his stats don't super scale well with a pre-charge special, except for something like Dragonic Aura like you see here. You could run Sturdy Impact in his A and then run something like Bonfire or Ignis, and that might actually be better in some circumstances, but it's really going to come down to the fact that he stacks attack and speed well, so I think that Null follow-up does him super, super well. He doesn't have the best matchup in the world against something like a Vector, but he has a very strong matchup against things like Edelgard or Braveite, those green units that are really problematic. Also, just in general, Null follow-up is a great skill, because more and more units are having follow-up denial that you're seeing on Aether Raid's offense. So yeah, that's Azel. Next up, we have Sophia. So Sophia is she's got a preference Raven Tome that has Bracing Stance built into it, and she has the Resplendent, which gave her a bunch of extra stats. And because of those two things combined, it makes her a very, very good light season tank. So I've given you a speed build here. So this is a zooming Sophia, if you will. Null follow-up is definitely a good idea for her. It definitely improves her Bravemond matchup, although a lot of times she will just Oko a Bravemond because of the Raven Tome effect. And that's, again, why she's so good in light season, is because of that Raven Tome. The attack speed just really helps her out against those high res units. This is not the Sophia that I run personally, but it is a very good one. I personally run a close foil Sophia, and I think that works actually quite well as well. This build would work well on its own. It could also work super well with a close save unit, perhaps like a close save Vector or a close save Duo Adun, like these units that would pair up well with her to take down any melee units, while Sophia could deal with all the ranged units on her own. Next up, we have Brave Lyscithia, and I know a lot of people are Brave Lyscithia stans, and if you look at this build, it's very easy to see why. So this is a build that's meant to go on Aether Raid's defense, and it absolutely is meant to go with a Winter Bernadetta. So if you have Winter Bernadetta, she damages Lyscithia by 1, and so Lysithia's Tome, her Dark Spikes, is automatically active, which means she's going to make a guaranteed Desperation follow-up. With that, and Heavy Blade active, she can pre-charge her Moonbow, and basically nothing lives against that. I mean, maybe, of course, there's going to be a unit that's going to live, right, against that, especially units with Guard and things like that, or Special Fighter, for that matter. But taking 2 hits from this Lysithia specifically is very hard to do. She is very, very strong. So she's a super great nuke. The problem is that she's really dependent on getting that setup from Winter Bernadetta to get that damaged effect on her Tome. And because of that, you can't run Healing Tower. And so that's why I have her in the honorable mentions as opposed to one of the top 5, is because she requires a lot of specific team composition for her to work at her optimal state. That being said, when she's working at her optimal state, she is the best red nuke when she's at her optimal state, I think. OG Lysithia is up there as well. You have a lot of great red nukes otherwise. I've also seen people use this Lysithia as a hit and run strategy on Aether Raid's offense, and that is also super viable. I don't want to take away from that. Like, she's a great unit, but I think that she just requires too much team support to make it into the top 5. Still super great once you have that team support, though.
Clothing from other lands is so often different from what I'm used to.
And finally, my pick for the #1 best Red Tome Infantry is Summer Makaya, Summer Hoshiden Makaya. So here is the thing with her, is that what I've provided here is a kind of support/offense build for an Infantry Pulse team. So you'll see her with Precharge Iceberg, or it could be Precharge Glacies. And she hits extremely hard. She has both armor and cav effectiveness, which is why I put her on Dark Season, because she has that effectiveness against Freya as well, and also has a good color matchup against Freya for that matter. And she just has super high attack. So the thing is, even though she's a dancer, she also provides a great deal of offensive presence. So this build is great. A build that I haven't put up, alternatively, would be an arena build, and just not making her a dancer at all. So, like, she is a dancer, right? She has the dance effect, but you could literally just drop the dance off, put a harsh command on her, put attack, not attack res, what is it called? Our dual infantry on her, and really just mess up a lot of arenas. So arena, you see a lot of armors, because of their high BST and whatever, put her on Fire Season, obliterate Edelgard, absolutely obliterate Edelgard, but also just like just really blow up a lot of units. Her dual effectiveness is just super great, and that's, in addition to her utility, why she is the #1 unit in my opinion for Red Tome Infantries. So I hope you guys have liked the video. If you do, make sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to be doing 2 more of these in the next 2 days, so today is currently Wednesday. We'll release a Blue Tome Infantry video tomorrow, and a Green Tome Infantry video on Saturday. So be on the lookout for those 2 things coming your way. And that's really all I have to say. Thanks you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!